Hello, and welcome to the latest in our series of Our Lockdown Stories, a short video series in which I am interviewing some of our Kingston Liberal Synagogue members about their life as a KLS member and also about their experience over the last few months in lockdown. And I'm really delighted to welcome Vince. Hi, Vince. Thank you for joining me.
Hello.
Hello, and we're just going to dive straight into it. So, can you first of all tell us a little bit about yourself and about your background as a KLS member?
Oh, I joined KLS about 20 years ago, maybe, and it was my first synagogue because I wasn't brought up Jewish. I converted, and since then I've been in the synagogue choir. In fact, I joined the choir before I converted
All right.
because my wife was already a member, and I enjoy singing, so I joined the
Absolutely.
choir. And then I got involved in other bits and pieces around the synagogue, and eventually it seemed appropriate to go the whole hog.
Did you actually do your conversion process with KLS then, Vince?
Yeah, with the then rabbi.
Ah, fantastic. Wonderful. Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about the situation in lockdown? How has your situation been over the last few months? How have you spent your time?
I'm ashamed to say I've actually quite enjoyed lockdown. Prior to lockdown, I was, as a retired academic, still going into the university every day on various research projects, which I've had to put a halt on. And then that's released time that I've found I can use to do more enjoyable things. I've put a lot of time into the garden, like lots of other people.
Hmm.
I've been trying to learn a musical instrument. I've been um, enjoying getting more familiar with online activities.
That's fantastic.
So I haven't noticed the downside personally.
Yeah, that's been something that's been coming through, just the idea of, having maybe a bit more time. What musical instrument are you learning just out of interest? Because I know you're already a very proficient guitarist.
Uh, a guitar is relatively easy because it's got all these metal things on it called frets that tell you where to put your fingers. An oud is the Arabic origins of our lute.
Oh,
And like a lute or a violin, it has no frets. So that makes it all a bit more difficult. So I've been trying to learn to play the oud.
and will you be playing that for us at some point in the service in the future?
Not imminently.
Okay, fair enough.
Like I said, it's more difficult than the guitar.
I can imagine. I can imagine. That's fascinating. I'd love to hear it sometime. Anyway, Vince, when you're ready. Can you tell us what involvement you've actually had with KLS during the lockdown?
Um, well, I'm a member of the Synagogue Council, so our council meetings have moved online, and that's worked quite well.
Mm.
As a choir member, we've been trying to work out how we can actually provide music without physically meeting as a choir,
Mm.
and uh, without having a congregation there physically with us. So that's been something KLS related.
You've also been
Uh,
involved in a few
I've been now
services.
and again going in to water the KLS garden.
Oh yes, of course, very important. But you've also been involved in doing a few of the services, haven't you? Doing some music for some of our services.
Yes, my wife is a rabbi, and so when she leads or when I lead by myself, um, I'm the musical
Hmm.
support.
Absolutely, yes. And you've provided us with some beautiful music and beautiful images as well to accompany your music.
Oh, yeah, I'd forgotten, but that was fun.
Yeah,
Trying to use PowerPoint as an artistic medium.
yeah,
Um,
very successfully, I might add. very, very
Yeah.
successfully. And what has this involvement, sort of the involvement in KLS, meant to you during this time, Vince?
Well, KLS has been part of my identity
Mm,
because lockdown has removed some of the habits and some of the
mm,
sort of reinforcements like meeting people face to face.
mm,
I think it has receded into the background relative to pre-lockdown. So I still I still feel it's a big part of my life, but it has evolved into something different to
mm,
what it was
mm,
before we had to go online.
mm. Taken a different sort of place, I guess. Yeah, absolutely. And kind of an extension of that question, would you say that your relationship with your Judaism has changed at all during the lockdown?
I think I've had to examine it for fairly similar reasons that some part of how I was living my life pre-lockdown involved what you might, in retrospect, think were just habits, like going to the synagogue Friday and Saturday. I mean, I didn't go just out of habit. I went for a
Mm,
reason, but
mm,
that reason's now vanished, or rather, that way of satisfying the reason's not available
mm,
anymore. So I've had to. I haven't consciously rethought it, but since you're putting the question, I think what's happened is that because the form, I'm talking form versus substance, because the form,
mm,
which is going into the building, the synagogue, putting on a tallis, sitting with other people in a service, because the form has changed, I've had to think more about what the substance is.
mm,
And, you know, I'm my conclusion is that the substance of being Jewish is that you try to behave in a good way towards other people, and that's maybe that's a bit different to what would be at the top of your mind for this question if you were surrounded by lots of,
mm,
let's call it habit, even though that's a bit dismissive.
mm, mm.
So form versus substance. I've had to think about the substance because the form has not been there to allow me to get away with not thinking about the
Right.
substance.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really interesting way of looking at it. Yeah. And as well as that, or in addition to that, is there anything else you would say you've learned over the last few months of lockdown, whether it's related to that or something completely different?
Um, I've learned quite a bit more cooking. Are we still talking Judaism or just
Not
life in
necessarily.
general?
No, not necessarily.
Well, 3 meals a day, so that's quite a bit more cooking than we used to do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Janet and I take it in turns, week on, week off. So I've had to broaden my repertoire.
Any particular dish that you can share with us? Anything new that comes has come out of that?
Well, I generally like to cook something where you throw lots of stuff together, like risottos,
Mm,
pasta dishes, couscous. Oh,
lovely.
and we've done quite a lot of eating out here in the garden. We have a chimney, and we also have a dead apple tree from our vegetable allotment. So the dead apple tree has been fueling the chimney, and we've been cooking outside quite a bit.
Lovely. I have to say, we have been pretty lucky with the weather, haven't we? In terms of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if this was ever
Well,
going to have
yeah.
to happen, it's good to happen at this time of year in a lovely summer. Um,
Well,
I, all,
that good weather at the start of lockdown was part of being able to say I've enjoyed it. I
yes.
don't think I would have wanted to be peering out of a rain-drenched window for 3 months.
Absolutely, absolutely right. Yeah, we've got to be thankful for these things. And I, for one, look forward to tasting the new Vince dishes when we are back together for our Havara suppers on a monthly basis. So I shall look forward to that.
Me too.
And Vince, thank you so much for joining me as part of this series and for sharing your experiences. Really interesting insights there. And for those of you who are watching, do stay tuned. There are going to be lots more where this one came from. Thank you again, Vince, and see you all soon.
Pleasure.